Groceries are getting expensive. And if you've never gardened before, you may be wondering if growing your own food actually saves you money. I tracked my produce harvests last year, and I have found the answer to that question. We're going to delve into that and ways to make gardening free and a little bit more expensive, depending on your budget and your needs. So I just calculated last year's leafy greens harvest, and I harvested 56 pounds worth of leafy greens. Now that's everything from lettuce on down to collard greens and everything in between. But I harvested 56 pounds of it. So is it worth growing food? Is it actually worth the cost? Because I don't know exactly how many collards and how much lettuce and how much callaloo I harvested, I'm just bulking it and grouping it into one. But if I were to calculate out those organic girl boxed salad greens, they run $5 a pop at the store. I grew enough greens to equal 179 of those plastic tubs. That's $895 that I saved by growing my own food. So is it worth it? My personal answer is always yes. When you grow your own food, you're actually growing nutrient-dense food that feeds your body the nutrients that it needs, rather than the stuff from the grocery store, which I like to call dead salads. But when we are purely looking at things from a budget perspective, it could be a yes or it could be a no. Let's look at some ways for you to have a budget-conscious garden and for those who are looking to get growing fast, no matter what the cost. If you have a little bit of a larger budget to work with and you're looking to get growing food fast, there are 3 ways you can make things easier on yourself and speed up the process a bit. One of which is paying for a garden growing center. So these green stalks here are a wonderful way to maximize the amount of food you can grow in a small space. They're also super easy as far as weeding is concerned, watering, all of that. Very simple. Yes, they cost money, but they get the job done really well. And if you are looking to grow in raised beds, I do recommend trying to go for something that has a little bit more depth. You can do mounded rows or cheaper beds, which have 8, maybe 12 inches worth of soil to grow in. But plants, especially here in Florida, really like a deep root system. So 12 to 17 inches is ideal. Getting a nice solid base to your raised bed gardens does cost a little bit more in soil and the beds themselves, but it will lead to nice deep root systems and very happy plants. I do have a link for the container system you see here, and if you go through that link and use my code down below, you will get $10 off your purchase for the Greenstock Vertical Gardens. The second tip to get your garden flourishing is to purchase your soil amendments. You can certainly go to the beach and harvest your own seaweed, but if you're looking to get growing fast and you have a little bit of extra money to play with, you can purchase your soil amendments and get your soil really well-rounded very quickly. My number one go-to for soil amendments is worm castings. They give you all of the good stuff, the NPK like you see on the front of fertilizer bottles. It also gives you lots of micronutrients like calcium and other minerals that are really important for plant growth. But what sets worm castings apart from most other soil amendments is the fact that it's a living product. So worm castings are worm poop, which means that the fertilizer coming out has gone through the digestive tract of the worm. And when that happens, you get all of the good gut buddies, the good bacteria and beneficial soil life that we want in our gardens in the castings. So you're getting this entire ecosystem, which when you purchase bulk soil and you're just getting started, a lot of times that soil is kind of dead. When you put worm castings in, you're basically flooding or inoculating that soil with all of the beneficial life that you ultimately want to achieve in your garden. You can absolutely do your own worm castings at home. I do have a video on that, but sometimes you just need to get up and going fast, or you don't have interest in doing that. If that's the case, I have found that Simple Grow is a really good option for purchasing your soil amendments and your worm castings. They come in at a good price point and they don't use fillers like a lot of the other companies, so you're not going to have in the excess bedding or anything like that. You get the good stuff. When you're ready to get started in the garden with your worm castings, I do have a link down in the description for Simple Grow, and if you use the code TheUrbanHarvest during your purchase, you'll get 10% off your entire order with Simple Grow. There are lots of other soil amendments that all add a little bit something different to the garden. If you're looking for more resources on which ones I recommend, you can click on the link down below in the show notes and it will give you my list of suggested soil amendments. Tip number 3 for getting your garden started a little bit quicker for a little bit more money is to start your garden with live plant starts. Yes, you will be paying a little bit more per plant, but if you're just new to gardening, starting from plants versus seeds can reduce the errors and get you growing your food much quicker. So you pay a little bit more up front, but you have a much higher success rate and you get to start harvesting your food much faster. There are 3 ways that you can make your garden more budget friendly. One is to consider what you use for raised beds. Everybody thinks that you have to go spend money on a 4-framed bed or buy a vertical gardening system or something along those lines. Food doesn't care what it grows in. As long as we give it the soil that it needs, they'll grow anywhere. Behind me, I have these upcycled, recycled, giant PVC culverts from a construction job that I turned into garden beds. You don't even have to have sides on your beds though. I have gardened successfully by just mounding soil on the mulch. And I do mounded rows and keep them planted. I didn't have to spend a dime on any sort of construction or siding. The next thing that can be kind of expensive is purchasing soil. If you're just getting your garden started, you might not have any soil to work with or to even amend and put soil and fertilizer into. So some people will purchase bulk soil. If you don't have the budget for that, make your own. When I moved into this house, I knew that I wanted to plant my garden beds for free using my own compost. So I started a massive compost pile. I created a 9-yard compost pile, turned it every 2 weeks, and in just 3 months' time, I had 3 yards worth of beautiful finished compost that I was able to fill my garden beds with and plant in for 0 cost to me. If you have a little bit of time, especially over the summer months when there's not much growing, start a massive compost pile. Go to a brewery or a grocery store or a produce stand near you and ask them for lots and lots of veggie scraps and start your own compost pile. In just a few months' time, you'll have all the soil you need and you won't have to spend any money on it. The third important thing to consider if you are on a budget is how you grow your food. Are you going to use seeds or are you going to use starts? Plant starts are great. They get things growing fast, but they're expensive. If you start from seed, you can get a couple hundred, let's say, kale plants out of 1 pack of seeds that cost you $3, whereas you might spend $3 or $4 on a single live plant. So starting from seed can save you a ton of money. And if you're truly on a budget and want to go 0 cost with growing your food, go to free seed libraries. Go to libraries, community gardens. All of them will have free resources for you to access to get a small amount of seeds and get growing. I get that everybody wants a definitive answer. You want a yes, food costs more from the garden, or a no, it does not. But in truth, it's going to be dependent on your particular situation and how much you choose to spend on your garden. You can absolutely 100% have that garden paying for itself out the gate. But you can also set things up for ease and speed, and it's going to cost more, and it might take a couple of years for it to pay for itself. But do keep in mind that the food that you're able to harvest from your garden is nothing like what you would get from the grocery store. So make sure to compare apples to apples, and also consider that it might not literally just be a cost perspective when you decide whether growing your own food is worth it or not. If you hash things out and decide that growing food is the route you want to take, I have a ton of content, everything from the varieties to plant to starting from seed and everything in between. All sorts of videos on growing food in an urban setting. But if you're ready to get started right now, make sure to check out this video next.